Welcome to another episode of The Creative Herd. This is going to be a little bit of a different format. I took last month off of social media, and I just wanted to make an episode about the struggle, the process, and what I learned from the whole thing. And sitting in on this podcast is my girlfriend, Taryn.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
So
This reminds me of that girl on YouTube that just does like the sound. What's that called?
ASMR?
Yeah, that's what that.
Yeah. So I invited Taryn for this episode just to share her perspective in this whole thing.
I think it's maybe just a outside view on why you needed to take the break and how it changed during the break.
This episode's going to be fairly short because I'm just going to share basically my process throughout the whole thing. Personally, I had been struggling with, I wouldn't even call it like a social media addiction. I would probably call it just a phone addiction.
Yeah, I think it was just like an escape that you went to.
Yeah. I even looked into getting like a dumb phone, like one of those old Nokia brick phones for a while.
Like the light phone. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah, that's like the 2018 version, but like the Nokia brick.
Yeah, I remember that. I think you wanted like a flip phone or something that did nothing.
But eventually I just kind of faced the problem head on. And what sparked it for me was like a couple different things. Obviously, one huge factor was Taryn being like, yo, here's...
I remember breakfast was pretty bad for a while. I think we'd wake up and then you'd just come upstairs and just be on your phone for like all of breakfast while talking to me, and you weren't even doing anything. You were just scrolling.
Yeah.
And then when I'd say something, you'd be like, I can multitask. I can do both things. But it just...
Yeah, it's funny that like you think you can multitask, but like I can't. Your brain just can't.
Present. And like maybe you were still paying attention to me. I don't think you would ever not pay attention to me, but you weren't present in it.
Yeah, I was just saying like the correct answers at the time.
Yeah, like, are you listening? Yep.
I went away at the end of the summer out to the East Coast, and my phone didn't get service out there. So that was kind of a force to just stop looking at all the updates and stop scrolling and stuff, because there was so much other things to do, and sightseeing took over. But when I got back, I think was when it got like super bad, because I had like such a big high of like enjoying life. And then do you remember like when I got home? And
yeah, you're pretty bummed for a while.
Yeah, because like where we live, it's just very like suburban, normal neighborhood, and like where I was like out in the East Coast on the like ocean side, seeing like all these surreal landscapes pretty much every day. And when I got home, I just felt like such a crazy low of like, I know I was missing out in other things, even though I just did like such an incredible thing, and I was just constantly comparing myself to what others were doing, and just not really enjoying my present being.
I think that's a huge thing with social media, is the comparison. Like, oh, so-and-so is doing this today, and so-and-so is doing this, and you're not doing that. And I think it is used in such a negative, unhealthy way, but it has the ability to more so be positive, right?
Yeah, I think that like comparing yourself to others on social media and like Instagram, like for me, my biggest thing was Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know if do you compare yourself to others on?
I think everybody does it with Instagram. I think that's when...
Even if you like subconsciously you are, no matter what.
Yeah, regardless of whether you're following, like a model or something like that. And you're like, oh, she has a six-pack and I just ate like a whole box of cookies, so I feel pretty shitty.
I think like maybe that's where like the divide is in people, because it was getting to the point where I was like, I feel like I'm not doing enough, and you start to feel kind of bad about yourself because of that. Yeah.
And I think that's when Instagram becomes a negative, and I think that you can look at these things but be in a different headspace and it be more of like a positive. Mm-hmm. But given where you were and where some people are, I think it can be like kind of negative.
Yeah. It can very easily
it can be taken as negative. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's so like subjective. It's what you take from it, right?
Mm-hmm. It just kind of depends on how your day is going, which is so weird. But like at that time in like when I had just got back from the trip, I was from such a big high to such a big low, and that's when I started to like kind of lose myself in like this world of Instagram and like following along with other people's lives and journeys and their goals. And I started to lose what I was doing kind of, and everything around me paid the price for that. Like I started to lose a lot of time. I don't know if anybody's ever looked at your screen time, like on your phone in the app. Have you ever looked at that?
Yeah.
I definitely was losing like easily 12 hours a week.
It's kind of gross when you look at that and you're like, all that time that was spent on your phone.
That's a serious wake up call in itself. So that's like 12 hours in every week is like losing a whole day.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. All these things, it kind of all snowballed at the same time. Like I noticed my screen time. Taryn kind of put your foot down on what was going.
I think
what was going on.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with scrolling on Instagram or being on your phone. I think I'm not against that. I think there's a healthy amount that you can do, and
there definitely is a healthy amount.
You would come away from it just feeling worse than you did going into it, and that's when I thought that it wasn't benefiting you.
Mm-hmm. And there was a time that like both me and Taryn would like obviously go to work and work 8 hours, and she would come home and I work from home majority of the time, and I would be like, wow, I've got nothing accomplished in the time that she went to work for 8 hours. But that's because I was making all these little like dumb goals that if I was like, okay, I'll work for half an hour and then I'll spend 5 minutes on Instagram because I completed a task.
Or while something's exporting, you'd go on your phone
and then those 5 minutes turn into half an hour, turns into an hour. It just like, I found myself getting engulfed into this hole and I wasn't being productive. I was always busy and not being productive. Yeah. And that made me stressed out. Mm-hmm. And like have anxiety on the projects that I was doing at that time.
And I think too, like it doesn't, you're not 100% dedicated to it if it's just like.
Oh yeah. Of course. Like the quality of work that I was putting out at that time was like so bad because all I wanted to do was just finish the task so I could
go on your phone,
move on. And like I don't think that was like the motive, but like it subconsciously was the motive.
You did some games too. You downloaded a couple games and were quite into that, I remember.
Yeah, that was like the first kind of like try to move away and just like fill that void.
But it's just like a blanket. Like you just put like a blanket on Instagram, but then took the blanket off of something else and just used that as an escape. And I don't think that was necessarily what direction you should have went in for it. But if it helped you, then
that happened for a while, and then eventually
I just can't. The games are so small. You can't even see little fucking characters that are on it.
I feel like eventually you got kind of tired of like telling me from like 1 to 2 times at dinner or whenever we were spending time together, be like, hey, can you just not do that while we're talking?
I think for a bit I'd just go, if you were on your phone, I'd just go on my phone to be like, instead of finishing a sentence and trying to talk to you while you were on your phone, I just did what you were doing. Not as like...
That maybe made it worse.
Yeah, but I'm also not going to compete with, or I just wouldn't talk. I'm not going to compete with your cell phone. I'm going to wait until you're done. So I'll wait.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that's funny, and a lot of people don't really notice that you can be still having a conversation but not being present. And I did that for like so long, and that's probably why I felt so down and like struggled with it, because I was just like, oh, I need to see what other people are doing, and like even though my own life's going on, like I'm just kind of like going through the motions and like saying things that I'm listening to you but not really.
Do you think you have an addictive personality?
I don't think I have an addictive
I think you do.
I don't think I do have an addictive personality.
It's just different. It's not like substance. You're not addicted to any substance. It's more so like...
So what would be an addictive personality then? Wouldn't everybody have...
I think everybody has things that they get addicted to, whether it's like a feeling or technology or...
Okay. check it out. So people experiencing addiction will have some of these symptoms: lack of an emotional response,
Check.
display a lack of self-control, dismiss how their behavior may be causing problems,
Check.
have an increased desire for the substance or behavior,
Check.
or be unable to stay away from the substance or stop the addictive behavior. That's kind of the same thing.
I feel like 3 out of the 4 was what you were going through. But I don't think you're the only one out there. I think I give you credit because you actually did something about it and you acknowledged it and you were open to when people were giving you feedback about it. You have to do it on your own time, obviously, and it's not like it's not something like you were, addicted to opioids for a year.
But it is the same thing. Like this isn't a definition for actual substances, and it's the same. It's a chronic dysfunction of the brain system that involves rewards, motivation, and memory. It's about the way your body craves a substance or behavior, especially if it causes a compulsive or obsessive pursuit of a reward and lack of concern over consequences. So that like reward would be, it starts with like getting likes, comments, and all that stuff.
Yeah, like
it's
praise.
It's a feedback, endless feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
And then slowly it transitions into the reward is just clicking on an Instagram story of somebody you follow.
I remember several times you'd just be scrolling through and like scrolling through stories and stories, but you'd just be passing by them all. And I'd just be like, why are you even watching it? Or you'd watch one and you'd be like, nobody cares about this. I'm like, well, you care. You're fucking
feed the need.
You're fucking watching it.
Yeah. So if that's not an addiction, I don't know what is. So at that point, I begun the whole 30 days. I took the month off social media, and my definition of that, I don't have Facebook or Twitter or anything, which actually kind of makes it worse because all my time and energy went into Instagram, and I did not post. I just consumed.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. So I deleted all the apps with feeds from my phone. That was the first step.
Like what?
Anything with a social feed, because I realized very quickly that I would fill the void with something else, and they were all feed based. So Instagram was one. It basically would cover anything social.
Yeah.
And for the first 2 weeks, my thumb was still trying to tap at the empty space on the screen.
A phantom symptom where you're just like...
Yeah, when you feel your phone vibrate in your pocket when it didn't.
Yeah. Or you hear it ding, but nobody's there.
Yeah. And it's funny the times that I would start doing it because my hand would just do it in a line or waiting for a drink or something like that. Even at dinner, I would still do it because it was like a compulsive, just oh, yep, this is what I do. When...
Like a lull in a conversation where we're just eating and enjoying food and you just go...
Yeah. Instead of trying to okay, what are we going to talk about next? It's just exit. I'm going to press the exit tab and go on the... Yeah,
but I also I think it's okay to sit in silence sometimes, and I don't think you always need to be on in terms of sometimes you can just sit and enjoy a meal with somebody. It doesn't need to be replaced with the need to fill it with something else. You can just be...
That's a good point.
Present with somebody and not have to think about, oh, what's next?
Filling the voids. I don't know if anybody has ever noticed this, but if you come home from work and you just want to decompress, because I've definitely experienced this. I don't know if you have as well. And you come home from work and you just scroll Instagram or do something social or watch something, and at the end of the next few hours, you're like, wow, I don't feel any more relaxed.
I think what I would do, I'd be you come home from work and probably dealing with people all day and talking to people, and you don't really feel like being entirely social, but then you go on a social media app and you just look at a bunch of people and stories of people doing things, but that's not necessarily decompressing or winding down from being surrounded by people all day. I think
it's just quieter, but your mind is still as active.
It's not even necessarily quieter. I guess you just have the control to shut them up if you want to. You cannot play the volume or exit it, but you can't exit real life. So
being able to do nothing is very important, and it's so easy to lose that.
It's just being present. And it's at this moment, you can just be here with somebody?
The first couple weeks for me were really rough, and it's just because like I still had that like compulsive. It's not a need per se, but it's a compulsive act that like my hands were doing and my mind was doing and like my fingers were doing and typing. So I did a few things. Like obviously you log out of all your platforms, social platforms that you use, delete them from your phone, and then I blacklisted them on my internet.
Sounds so hardcore.
I downloaded this app called Stay Focused. Highly recommended if you use Chrome. It's basically like a parental supervisor. So you can put in which sites you want to blacklist, whitelist, and if you want to time limit a page.
Wait, what's a whitelist?
So whitelist is like...
like what's okay?
Yeah, what's okay. And then...
Wouldn't it just be anything that's not typed in on your blacklist?
Well,
like why do you need
You can blacklist like everything except for...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess. Process of elimination.
So I blacklisted Instagram, Kijiji, and Craigslist. I didn't need to do Facebook. I was already...
Explain why you didn't Craigslist and Kijiji.
Well, I just like...
It sounds really weird that you needed to...
They're also feed-based.
And you were heavily on those as well. I don't think that they're just something you just... blacklist with Instagram. I think there's
it's just
to
like
go with it.
Yeah, well,
but you should probably preface it and say that you were pretty addicted to Kijiji at one point.
It's just like I like to look at things and buy things and sell things.
Message people with no intention of buying it.
We're not going to put that in there. Anyways, so I blacklisted those things, and then I limited my time on YouTube, just in case I needed to watch like some 10-year-old teach me something.
Valid.
Yeah, because tutorials. YouTube's like a search engine, so I used it for tutorials for the month. And then if I got over like the time limit, then it would shut off and I couldn't use YouTube.
How long did you give yourself?
I gave myself 30 minutes a day.
That's pretty good.
Which I didn't even use by the end of the month. The first like 2 weeks, I was hitting the wall, and then I think I would only watch like maybe 5 minutes a day at the end. And that was just strictly needs based, because I feel like I don't really have a problem with YouTube.
No. I think YouTube can be used in a very constructive way. Mm-hmm. I think so can Instagram if you're doing it.
If you're using
properly,
it right, yeah.
Yeah.
So like with that, I tried to write about my process for each week and kind of what I was feeling. And I tried to be constructive about the whole process. And I tried to like keep a tab each week and write down what I was feeling, and like the negatives and positives. And basically here's like a quick recap of the last month. So the first couple weeks I still had FOMO, just thinking about like what cool things are people doing, what am I missing out on? And then I kept having a thought of like, what if people are commenting or like asking me questions and stuff online? And like, one, super unlikely, never happens. And two, which is the better point, even if they are, they'll definitely be there when I get back.
Also, if it's an important question from somebody, they know your contact information, so they're not gonna need to. Like, what kind of question is somebody gonna ask you on Instagram?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
It's somebody important, they're just gonna call you or text you.
There was nothing to answer when I got back. I doubt anybody even noticed I left for the whole month. But the things I noticed when I left, after about 2 weeks, I felt I had the ability to like slow down. So it took me like 2 weeks to be okay with like doing nothing. I think that was like 2 to 3 weeks to be like, okay, I can just sit here and do nothing and just be okay with my thoughts, and standing in line while getting groceries and like acknowledging that like the grocery clerk is like a human being and like have a conversation with them. Opposed to like, next time you go to the grocery store, look at every single person that goes through the lineup. As soon as they put their items on the conveyor belt thing, their phone comes out.
It's because people are assholes.
Okay.
Dickheads.
Do you have like are you gonna back your point up, or are you just saying that like all people are assholes?
I mean, not all people. There's a couple of people that aren't, but I don't know if it's like an antisocial thing or it's just you're just, you know.
I don't think we are antisocial. I think it's just this like, it's almost like a little mask, like a blanket, like you were saying earlier. Because it literally took like 2 to 3 weeks to like rip that Band-Aid off, and then I was like more productive. I was okay doing nothing, and I was like way more present at all times. While I was at work, my productivity definitely went up because there was nothing to like go away from. So I would work way harder, and the hours that I put in made me way more productive. So I had way less stress, and I was meeting all my deadlines.
Yeah.
And the quality of work I was handing in also went up, since I was like paying more attention to what I was actually doing and like being present. So that all turned into like having more quality time with friends and family and you, and probably having like more meaningful conversations. Did you see any like specific thing change during the month, like in our time spent together? Because obviously you weren't having to tell me like, hey, put your phone down.
Yeah, and it was nice to just like be present, I guess, and you know, have a conversation without either of us pulling out our phones.
Yeah, because you kind of did it too throughout the month.
Yeah, I did.
But
like,
you also don't have a problem.
yeah, but I also think like I think you helped me in that way, because it was. I'd look at it and I'd be like, at the end of it, what did I get out of looking at that? Mm-hmm. Like I personally got nothing. So I'm like, instead I'd be like, oh, I wish I had that this person has. And I wish, you know, I could go here, like this person went there.
Yeah.
And it was creating a negative thought. So I just stopped after a while.
My thing is like, I got more frustrated when I would like come back to reality, because then I'd be like, oh, righty, I just wasted 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
and
I could do so many things in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll never be like, man, I wish I just spent like 30 more minutes on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's like a huge thing. It's at the end of the day, or like, you know, like on my deathbed, I'm never gonna, on my deathbed, I'm not going to be like, fuck, I really wish I kept scrolling on Instagram. Like, I really wish that I had spent more time looking at other people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I, like, sometimes, you know, you see, like, family and friends on Instagram, and sometimes or Facebook, and it's a way that you keep in contact, and
sure,
it's a way that you see. I get that. I don't think it's all negative, but when, you know, you have a thought that you were having, and a thought that, like, I've had before, and I'm sure many people have had before, where it's an envy, and you find yourself wanting something that you don't have, I think that's when it becomes a toxic thing.
During the whole month, like I said, it took me about 3 weeks in total to like get super comfortable to like standing in a line, start talking to strangers, and the person taking orders behind the desk and groceries. And
I mean, you're always pretty good with that though.
Yeah, but it's just like being present. And during the whole process, I tried to commit into doing like the long form of things, and I really enjoyed that. Like, instead of taking food out or coffee and stuff like that, we dined in. Mm-hmm. The process of like, instead of making or buying a coffee, it's like, just take the extra time and like make a coffee, make a pour over, instead of like getting takeout and then like coming home and watch TV. Why don't you like dine in the restaurant and like just sit and chat and like just be present? And I think it takes a lot more thinking behind that stuff, because I think you can do that kind of thing every day. You don't need to be on like a social cleanse to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Like you just said, you don't have to be on a detox to enjoy that time. I think it should be all the time. I think you should designate when you're with somebody, commit your time to that person. Mm-hmm. And even when you're alone and, you know, you find yourself wanting to do something to fill that time, maybe just take a second to like be present and realize it's okay to sometimes sit in silence and be okay being alone with your thoughts, I think.
Mm-hmm. I back that.
And again, like I said, I'm super proud of you for doing it, not because I think you had some crazy problem. I don't think it was as bad as you thought it was.
No.
I just think it takes a lot to like admit something like that or acknowledge it. Like you were open to being like, yeah, I probably do spend too much time on Instagram, and to do something to fix that because you were willing and you wanted to fix your quality time with people and your time spent and your thoughts on Instagram too. So
yeah, like my main goal is I just wanted to come back like stronger, clearer, and like have a vision for myself, because I was like looking at all these people and like supporting all their goals and their journeys, and I'm just like, I literally have like a great girlfriend. I got a super active dog. We recently just got a car, so the possibilities are like so endless.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I came out of it was like, I need to create more than I consume. And I was definitely not doing that. So that's like my overarching goal now.
I also think it's really easy to like sit behind a screen and look at what somebody else is doing and be like, oh, fuck, they have such a good life. But it's just what they want you to see. It's like a highlight reel of their life.
Yeah, it's super curated.
It's the positive, and most of the time people won't post about the negative, so you only see the good stuff about it. So it's easy to be like, oh, fuck, that person lives a great life, you know? Like,
yeah. I mean, everybody does it.
Everybody. Oh, yeah, that's not a...
It's not a bad
everybody's
thing.
guilty of it because you only want to share those things. Like, why would you want to show that, you know, you had a shit mental health day and you didn't get out of bed, or you didn't, you know, you didn't do anything cool that weekend. You know, you stayed inside and watched movies. You wouldn't want to show that. That's not like content that you think other people would want to see. But I think it took a lot for you to commit to it, and you did. You 100% commit to it from start to finish. You didn't cheat. I mean, from what I know, I wasn't with you 24/7. You probably secretly... I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't do that.
But you 100%... I remember my mom messaged me because you are mainly the one that you update Winston's Instagram too, because every dog needs an Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even really post on mine.
Yeah, super quick plug. If you like dogs and you like Instagram, follow at I am Winston the Weem.
There's no addiction problem with Winston's. It's simply just dog photos. But my mom's like, it's so quiet on Winston's Instagram. Is everything okay? Are you guys okay out there? I was like, we're fine. I'm like, Spencer just took Winston took a break off of Instagram. Spencer took a break off of Instagram, and he's the one that fills it. But it's crazy to think that it could be portrayed as something's wrong because you're not posting, you know?
Yeah, totally. And that kind of gives you like perspective as well, you know?
Yeah.
Onto like what people kind of think, or if somebody doesn't post a photo with like somebody else, it's like, oh, maybe they're like, if they're a couple, you know?
Yeah, we've talked about this before, where it's like, you know, maybe they haven't.
If they haven't posted a photo in a while together, then they're probably not together.
If people thought that, they probably literally thought that we are not together at all because we don't really post together. But I don't really think that matters. But we have talked about that before, where it's like, oh, so and so hasn't posted a photo with so and so in, you know, months. They're probably broken up. Where it's like, when I find myself thinking, I'm like, who the fuck am I? Like, what gives you that, not that right to judge,
you're
but
invested into,
but why? I'm like,
people's...
I don't give a shit if they broke up.
Yeah. I feel like that whole, the whole time I was off social media, it was like made me more present and to like where I want to put my time. And it's like, oh, of course I want to put my time into my friends, my family, my girlfriend, like the things that I like to do.
And I think there's amazing things that come out of Instagram. I think, you know.
Oh, yeah. And there's so many opportunities.
People can have careers over Instagram. And I think it can be a really great platform if used properly. Yeah.
And I was definitely using it incorrectly. But that's why I wanted to like take a step away, because I knew I was using it incorrectly, and I wanted to take a step back, realize how I could like use it, because it is a tool. It's just an app. And when I did re-download Instagram, it felt like I had missed so much because everything was so overwhelming. There's so many posts that I haven't seen.
Oh, you could never catch up on all of that.
And like for the first like couple minutes, I was like, I had so much anxiety because I was never going to catch up with all the posts that I'd missed. But then I was like, I didn't miss anything.
Also, who cares if you don't catch up?
That's what I'm saying.
Posts?
Like, I was present for like the past month in my own life. That's all that matters.
You know how Instagram does that thing, like you're all caught up?
Yeah, you're all caught up.
That
yeah.
I remember that happening to you a lot. Like you'd follow a certain amount of people and you'd be like, fuck, it's all caught up. Like
Yep.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that on my Instagram.
Oh yeah, I was.
I don't think I've ever been caught up.
I was always caught up in everything. I never really missed anything. But it was super overwhelming to not be able to get to that point. And to be honest, it felt like it felt kind of useless, like the app for the rest of the day, because I was like, this isn't the same. It felt like it changed, but I was the one who kind of changed, because I just like had removed myself from the people that I was following, so now I didn't care. It feels so weird to like talk about that, because like these people that I'm following don't know that like I have a problem with following them, like, and it's just like,
Won't name any names, but
who would be?
I mean, there's a couple that you'd watch, you'd be like, oh, he did this with his girlfriend, and they did this, he's got this person, and he did this, and...
Well, it's just like some people look like they're having so much fun, and I want to like be there for that fun, but you have to remember like it's curated.
Yeah.
And like it's not a bad thing. You just like, you got to be aware of that, and like
you need to realize for as many like up times, they probably have
the exact same
everybody's
human.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like this is why I said like you got to come back with like a game plan, so you can like, if you do take a social cleanse, take the time to like think about how to properly use these apps and think about how it fits into your own life, because it was like starting to take over my life, and I needed to take back my time, be present, and fit it into where it fit into my life, and not just like all the damn time.
I try to follow, I know you do this too, but I try to follow things that I'm going to not get something from, but things that I can scroll through, and things that are of my interest that I'm like, I feel good after reading that, or I feel like I learned something after reading that, or...
True, like they bring value. So I try to follow things of value. Yeah, I get that, but I'm looking for inspiration. Yeah. I'm looking for like the next,
I know, not everything can have value, and you can't,
not everything, but it's just like looking through everyone's photos, I would always get this gut feeling that I wasn't doing enough, because like they were doing such cool things and like I wasn't. But when I didn't have the app, I didn't have that feeling, because I was doing everything that I could. Yeah. So I think it's like very much separating that, like you can follow whatever you want if it brings you value or not, but just like be able to have that separation. Yeah. Of this is my own life, and I'm going to make the most of my own time. It's such a first world problem. I know. To sit here and talk about like Instagram, like it's such, it doesn't make it any less important, or this is realistic in our days, Well, yeah, because it's like it's like where we spend a lot of the time is on these social feeds, not just Instagram, but like Twitter, Facebook. I think it's just starting younger and younger, and that's what's scary for me. It's we're in that middle stage too, and I almost feel like they can grow up and understand, but like we kind of like adapted to it. To end this off, basically, my biggest takeaways through the month is that I felt like I had more time, because, well, I wasn't losing a day of the week. 12 hours. Yeah. So, and in turn, like I was way more productive while being busy. October was one of the busiest months I've had in a really long time, work-wise and life-wise. And I was like stressed, but like it was a good stress and a good, like, I was busy. I was being productive, not just like, holy crap, I'm busy and like I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. This whole process kind of, it was more of like a learning experience of like how to take back my time. It was learning how to be aware of how I'm spending my time and how to be present where I choose to spend the time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely suggest for anybody out there that's like kind of contemplating doing like some sort of social cleanse, phone cleanse, definitely do it for your mental health.
Yeah, I don't really think you necessarily have to be like on Instagram all the time or, you know, feeling what you're feeling after it to try stepping back. Because I think we grew up in such a generation that it's so screen heavy and you want to document everything and you want to show everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just in us to, it's like second nature to
Now,
look at
yeah.
our phones. So I think anybody can benefit from stepping back
Mm-hmm.
and just not being, you know, like we maybe didn't grow up with iPads. Like we grew up with a generation of going outside and calling on somebody, and you know, you didn't put a photo to get validation on your look or you know, you didn't base yourself on how many likes you got in a photo. If you got less than the previous photo, you didn't think about it. So I think we were just on that cusp of not growing up that way, if that makes sense. Like we just missed it. I remember calling on my friends calling on me.
I know.
And just
like knowing everybody's moms and dads and stuff.
And you would just know that you'd call someone and be like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like tomorrow at 2, let's go to the mall, you know? And you just meet at the mall and you would just know that somebody was going to be there. It wouldn't be like, hey, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Or, you know, it'd be like, hey, I'm, you know, 7 minutes away. There's traffic. It's just like, I think you have the benefits now of having that because it's.
Yeah. It's more about like just having that outlook that are just like, these are things that help you accomplish your tasks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I still think I like still kind of want like a dumb phone, a light phone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Right now, I'm gonna take a month every year and just get away from socials or anything. Just kind of unplug.
Like it's like a detox.
Yeah. I mean, you detox your body, so why shouldn't you like detox your mind, your brain, your hands, most importantly?
Yeah.
It's such a weird like. My hands did most of it when you like pause in a line or in a conversation.
I think it's so
anything.
Subconsciously too, and that's when you realize you're like, oh fuck. Mm-hmm. Like I picked up my phone and opened Instagram without even realizing that. Mm-hmm. Like I picked up my phone and opened Instagram.
Yeah, like this is what I do. I sit on the subway, and then as soon as my butt hits the chair, hand pocket, my eyes never went anywhere, but my phone is now open on Instagram. I highly encourage anybody, like if you're thinking about it or just to do it, just fight the urge for a bit. Next time you're in a grocery line, see how the grocery clerk's day is going.
Yeah.
You know?
Help them bag.
Yeah, help them bag if you will. Next time you're on the subway, just ride the subway. You know?
Read a book.
Yeah. Take back your time, everybody. And don't let that phone steal it from you.
Because at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to look back on all the time you spent on Instagram or social media or Facebook or taking photos for somebody else and wish that you had spent more. Yeah. You're just going to want to be present.
Yeah. That's a good place to end it. I hope you enjoyed this little different episode. And yeah, go be present.